Welcome, everybody, to Casting for Two, the podcast with your host, Chris. As always, I am the host. I am that guy that I just said, that I just spoke up. My mic is wanting to get away from me. Get back here, Mike. Welcome, everybody, to episode number 193. I really enjoyed today's episode. I'm just going to say that right now. I had a lovely guest, and we had a great time. But I know you know who the guest is, but before I talk about my guest, I would like to say, as always, if you would like to keep in contact with me, you can do that on my Twitter and Instagram, both at castingfor2. Email is castingfor2@gmail.com. And as always, if you'd like to leave me little love notes on how you like the show, you like the guests, you hate the host, do that on the iTunes, Google Play Music, or Stitcher page. That's where you can find this podcast. And of course, Sunday Brunch is the podcast that I also do with the very lovely and beautiful Megan Johnson of tipsywriter.com. Go listen to that as well. But now it's time I told you my guest, even though you know who the guest is. My guest can be seen on the show, Jane the Virgin. Her name is Shelly Bhalla, and I had a blast chatting with her. She was very nice, very fun to talk to. She likes to have fun. I can tell. She's pro fun. She's pro roller coasters. Maybe she is. Maybe she isn't. I don't know. I need to have her on the show and ask her the real hard hitting questions like, do you like roller coasters? But yeah. So I guess I should stop talking and let you listen to this episode. All right. So sit back, relax, and Chris, cue that music, please, and thank you. So this is a pretty new show where we talk about anything we want. One thing I love to chat about with actors is when they found their the bug, when they caught the bug for acting.
Okay. Sure. Should I go ahead?
Yes, and speak now.
Okay. Well, for me, I didn't have this exact moment in time when I was younger, when I knew. I mean, I always loved performing, but I was also just involved. I was also student body president. I did debate team. I was into a bunch of different things that had elements of performance. Mm-hmm. And while I was in college, I dabbled in the theater department, and I had one really great professor, and she gave me Stella Adler's book, The Art of Acting. And, she was like, I just think you should read this. And so I read it, and I absolutely loved it. And the summer after I finished college, I thought, you know what, I was just trying to figure out, what to do with my life. I was really uncertain. And I thought, I'm going to go to New York for a summer and go to this school and just see what it's about. So I did a summer course there and in New York, and I'd say one day in, it clicked. I was in the school, and I was coming from a world, I was interning all through college at Solomon Smith Barney. I think I even wore a business suit to my Stella Adler interview. Just so out of place, but it was a day into being there and just being around these artists who were so free and loose, and I knew I was home. I was like, oh, this is where I'm supposed to be. That language made sense to me. I still worked hard, but it was it just felt natural. It wasn't, it was the first time where I was like, yeah, I belong with these weirdos here. And so I stayed there throughout the summer. I finished the course, and then I auditioned for their 2.5-year conservatory. And I mean, I was so lucky to get in because I really didn't know what I was doing. I was so new to all of it. But I got in, and that's where, you know, I call that like my real college education. So I trained there and then stuck around the city and did theater. So it was in those years. It wasn't at a super young age, but it was like post-college where I really just dove deep into that world and fell in love with it.
Nice, nice. And so I'm curious. You mentioned the debate earlier.
Yeah.
I've never been a debater. You know,
Okay.
I'm a supporter. I'm like, if somebody tells me their opinion, I go, okay, that's cool. And that's, you know, that's how I win or lose my debates, depending on who you are.
Yeah, I mean, my family and loved ones probably wish I was more like you.
I was gonna say, is that element of, you know, not, you know, playful debating or speaking up? Does that still stick with you?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I mean, I think I think I came out of the womb like ready to debate. Yeah, it's like even if I wanted to get rid of it, I couldn't. I think just by nature, like even if I agree with someone's stance on something, if it's not backed up by like research or you know just like some sort of investigation, it's hard for me to respect it. But yeah, and I also think it's fun to engage with people who view the world differently, like, and because I actually learn a lot from it, you know, and I think just what's been going on, I mean, there's so much going on politically, like every single day it's just like some new bomb that's being dropped, and I mean, I don't mean that literally, hopefully that won't be the case literally, but yeah, I actually really, I think I enjoy the stimulation of, you know, like a good debate or a good argument or just really talking something out with someone who views the world differently. I really believe that that's how people come together.
Yeah.
It's like you're on that side of the fence. I'm on this side of the fence. Like, I'm sure there's something that we see eye to eye on. And I feel like that, and just even like the engagement is, I think it's powerful.
Right. I completely agree. And it is, and I mean, you mentioned, you know, the times that we live in right now. I'm finding myself, I don't know if this is an age thing, like I'm growing up and my brain is getting more aware of this, but, you know, politics, I'm keeping up with it and it's weird to me.
Yeah.
And
really,
3 years ago, I wouldn't have cared, you know, it's just like, you know, it is what it is. Who cares? And now,
It was interesting because, like, and so I grew up outside of D.C. And my parents didn't, you know, they don't work for the government. Like, no, like I didn't have any association with politics necessarily, but I think just everyone that, like, it was just like normal to discuss that growing up. And so that was a big adjustment for me when I left the D.C. area, and especially when I came out west. I was like, oh, people don't discuss this as much. But I also think that because it's interesting, like, because of what's going on right now, a lot of people who were never engaged, like, you know, you said you wouldn't have had certain thoughts or conversations in the past, are like, oh, I don't have a choice anymore. I have to stay engaged. I have to be aware of what's going on and, you know, stay woke.
Well, and that's partly one of the two of the rules that I have for the show is just because I never want to offend anybody, so I don't want any, you know, politicians or religious people on, just because, you know, I don't want to offend anybody, and by me saying something, you know, especially these days, I still live by those rules, but I'm aware of it now, and it's very weird to me.
Yeah. Where did you grow up?
I was born in El Paso, Texas, but
cool.
I grew up in Salem, Oregon.
Okay. I've actually never been to that part of the country.
To
no idea what it's like.
Which part?
No, I've never been to Oregon or like
okay.
any of the states immediately around there. Yeah.
Gotcha. It's Oregon, and I'm not tooting anyone's horn or anything. Oregon is the best state in the world. It's a fact.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, no, it's because I grew up loving surrounded by trees, which is very different
that's nice.
than El Paso because it's all desert. there's sandstorms in El Paso, and I'd come home with sand up my nose and just very weird. Since it's in the Pacific Northwest, tons of rain, which I like.
Yeah.
It's
Okay.
Yeah, so it's I miss it for sure.
I've heard it's beautiful over there. I want to get over there at some point, but yeah, I've heard it's gorgeous. It's an area that like I know very little about and have spent no time in.
Yeah. No, I recommend everyone go to at least the Pacific Northwest in general.
Yeah.
So let's go. I guess we'll go back to acting.
Okay.
So when does first of all, when do you get your first big audition for a show?
The first big audition ever for a show?
Yeah, or for you anyway. Or your first, let's say your first paying gig.
So my first paying gig was so when I was in college, I shot this and it was really strange how it happened. But I guess my first big paying gig was this commercial campaign I did for Dove.
Mm-hmm.
And it happened in a very strange way. I was interning at a marketing research firm that was outside of DC. And I was there for the summer. And I was just I became friends with a lot of the people who worked there full time. And when I went back to school in the fall, I got a call from one of the women who was there. And she's like, will you be part of this study? It's for Dove, and you're perfect for it. They want young women in college, and I think you'd be a great fit. And then when you go in for those studies, they pay you a little bit of money. So I was totally game to do it. So I went in, and that led to a series of they just kept it, they weren't callbacks necessarily. I didn't know the goal of this was to find someone to be in a commercial.
Right.
But so they kept calling me back, and there was lots of personal interviews, and finally it got to the point where they asked me to be in a campaign, but they were having a really hard time casting someone to play my mom.
Mm-hmm.
At least at the time, they could not find an Indian actress that could look like my mom.
Right.
And so they were really struggling with that. And at one point, they called me and said, "Do you think your mom would be willing to do it?" And my mom is super shy, reserved. She's a mortgage banker. She had no interest. She had no interest in it. And they're like, "Well, do you have an aunt that maybe could look like you?" And so then we asked one of my aunts, and she just told my mom, she was like, "You're absolutely crazy. This is such a great opportunity. You need to do this. And if you don't do it, I'm going to do it." So that kind of, pushed my mom to do it. And we actually ended up shooting. They flew us out to LA, and we shot this campaign with them that aired for years and funded my education in New York. So nice. It was great. It was a really cool experience to shoot the ad and shoot the campaign, but it was just so personal to have that memory with my mom as well. So it was, and it was a nice payday. So I'd say that was my first legit job in the business.
Nice. Did they send you any deodorant for months or years after that?
No.
Ah, jeez.
Everyone always asks me that. They're like, "You must have a lifetime supply of deodorant." I'm like, "I don't have any."
So we can either pay you with money or pay you in deodorant. What would you like?
Yeah, I opted for the cash.
All right.
Yeah. Clearly, my hygiene isn't as high of a priority.
There you go. Well, because I've always just wondered about commercial actors, because there's an art to it where you have to not only convey what it is, the product that you're selling, but you also have to, in a way, demo it as well, but make it all look natural.
Yeah.
And I'm just gonna say that this might look. I don't know if I could demo armpit deodorant. That's a whole nother level, and I applaud you for that.
Thank you. Because of the nature of the ad, they wanted it to be you were peeking in on a mom and daughter hanging out.
Right.
It was a little less I wasn't splashing water on my face. It wasn't,
right.
So I think I would probably be really bad at that. But this was a little more natural in the sense that where there was like a scene where she was like tickling me and then I was like applying the deodorant. But what's really funny is that they had her wear a sari in it, which is just hilarious because it's not like Indian women who live in the U.S. They sit around the house in like formal sari.
Right.
Yeah, my mom was a really good sport about it, but that was a little ridiculous.
Now, and did your mom make her reel after that for her acting?
She did not. I tease her all the time. I'm like, Mom, because she's still in the DC area, but I'm always like, if you came out here, you would be crushing it. I'm like, you don't have like there's like not enough, women in your age group that have your look. So I always tease her all the time that should be her backup plan. But no, she just did the commercial and then she retired after that.
I get it. Retire while you're on top. I get it. I totally get it.
Yeah, she did it right. Maybe I should have done that too.
Well, do you now? One thing I like listening to is, do you have any bad audition stories?
Yeah. You mean like where I just completely bombed?
Yes.
Yeah. I've had a lot of really bad auditions. Auditions are so weird, and I think that auditioning is a completely different, like it requires a different skill than like even just acting, because you go in and then there's other people, right, who are auditioning too.
Right.
So there's that element of like, and just because of like me and the person that I am, I always go and I see another actress and I'm like, oh my God, she is perfect for this. I would cast her. Like, what am I wasting my time for? So there's all those like mental games you play with yourself, or like you psych yourself out. Right. And then you go, so before you even walk into the room, there's all kinds of like drama, right, already going on, and you've got nerves and there's some adrenaline, and then you go in the room, and then there's some casting directors who are amazing. They're supportive and they like really like help you. They're there for you. And then there's some who, aren't. Right. And it can be, and, there's times like where, you've spent like 2 or 3 days just completely just like only working on that audition, spending so much time, like giving it your all. And then you go in and you do it for like under a minute and then you're out and like, that's right. It. So it's a skill too that I think like I'm at the point now where I'm a lot better at like shaking it off and not obsessing about it once I leave. But I mean, I can't tell you how many auditions I think I've bombed just because I've psyched myself out, or I've like convinced myself that someone else is right for it before I've even gone in.
Right. And yeah. Have you seen La La Land?
I have. Yeah, I loved it.
Did you like it? Oh, what was that?
Did you like the movie?
Oh my gosh, I love the movie.
Yeah.
But there's those scenes where Emma Stone is auditioning, and I was just, I see that, that's a legit thing that happens. She's acting her heart out, and someone's just like, what do you want from lunch?
Yeah. It was so funny. When that movie came out, I received a lot of texts from friends who like aren't in the industry, and they were like, oh my God, is that your life? Is that what it's like? I've definitely had a lot of those experiences. You go and you feel like you've left like a little bit of your heart on the floor, and the person's, sending a text or, just completely unengaged.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I think that they did a really good job of it. They did it in a really funny way, but there was no, like, I think every actor has had an experience like that, right, at least once. Yeah.
I remember now. I'm not an actor at all per se, but I remember I went in to audition for a role in the Twilight movies.
No way! That's a big deal.
I was just there because I had some time, and I was like, yeah, sure, why not? Yeah. I was in the middle of doing film school. So they're just bringing in a ton of people, just going through them. And I literally sat down. They looked at me. They looked at my resume and said, "Okay, thank you." And I was just,
ouch.
I was like, oh, we're done. Okay.
You didn't even like. Did they have you prepare a scene or anything? And then they wouldn't even hear.
They didn't even want to listen to me.
Oh, that is so awful.
So you know what, I was fine with it because it was just one of those
Yeah.
things where I was like, meh, I got time, let's do this.
Yeah.
And
Oh, that's awful.
yeah, that's okay. That's why I'm not an actor. And
Yeah.
so how? No, what?
Sorry. I was going to say, I feel like, and I don't know why, but I feel like that was something I encountered more like earlier in my career. I
Mm,
find that for whatever reason, more often than not, like casting directors tend to be really great now and really
yeah.
and even if I'm not the right fit, like we at least have like a respectful, nice, conversation. But yeah, I mean, I just don't think that's a nice way to treat people, though.
Right, right.
Yeah.
When I was doing a short, I did a casting call, and I'm not.
Hmm.
I've never done a casting anything. I've always just had actor friends, and I was like, okay, you're gonna do this, and they're like, fine.
Okay.
I didn't want to do the prepare a scene or anything. I just wanted to have Skype conversations with everyone, and
Ah,
whoever I clicked with better, that's who I was going to give the part to. Um,
that's smart.
I got to work with these people. I want to make sure I can connect with them.
Yeah.
So there was
And
this
you're
one.
like working long hours and it's
Yeah,
intense, and it's like very intimate. So yeah, I think that makes a lot of sense.
I had one guy who was just like wanted to audition for me, and I was just,
Hmm.
I mean, I guess you can't. I don't. That's gonna be weird. Sure, I guess. And then he ended up never talking to me again, and I was just okay. That's fine.
Oh, wow.
But it's all good. But we should get into Jane the Virgin.
Okay.
How
Um,
how did you get that show?
so in like before season 2 started airing,
Mm-hmm.
I got the audition. So I'd watched season 1 and I was a fan of the show. So when I got the audition from my agent, I was really excited. And I really didn't know too much about the character. I knew that it was someone who worked for Petra. Do you watch the show? And I
Uh,
won't care if you
yeah, no,
don't.
I've
That's
seen a
okay.
couple episodes. Yeah, I'm not
Okay.
up to. I'm a binge watcher.
Okay, I get it. Yeah. It, I've heard that that Jane airs on a lot of airplanes and like on
Mm.
flights. So I feel like that's a good time for people to catch up on it for like, the binge watchers. But Petra is played by Yael Grobglas, and so I knew that I was working for her character,
Mm-hmm.
and I knew enough about her character from season 1 that she is like a fiery like force of nature. Um, and I was only auditioning for one episode. So I went in and I did my audition, and the casting director of that show was amazing, such a nice person, and she brought me in like a few times for other projects, and then I received a callback, and for my callback, my scene was just expanded quite a bit, and there was like a lot of physical comedy in it, and it was after doing like a little bit of investigative work, like I figured out, I was like, oh, this scene actually isn't in the episode. It's just like a scene that they wrote for the audition.
Right. Okay.
Um, yeah. So that gave me a little hint that maybe this character would be back for more, but I didn't know that for sure. But I had the call back, and then I found out the same day that was on a Friday, and then I found out I got it at the end of that day, and then I shot it on I think it was like that following Monday or Tuesday. So it happened really quick.
Mm-hmm. Nice, nice. And so
Yeah.
when you hear physical comedy, do you kind of freak out a little bit, or
Oh, I love it.
yeah? Okay.
Um, yeah, and it didn't really specify it, but in the scene for the callback, there I was like holding, like Jane like passed me a baby, and then the baby spit up on me, and um, it was just, for me, it was a lot of fun because I was like, oh, there's a lot of fun to be had with like a baby that's spitting up on you, and you're someone who doesn't. And I think there was a line about Krishna like not liking kids or being into kids, so it's like we can have fun with this. And yeah, and it's a little funny to like, because you're not holding a child, and you don't have Gina Rodriguez there to like react off of, but it gave me enough to do where I love like being able to add physicality to anything. I did theater, in New York, so
Right.
that's something that like I really miss actually a lot of the time. So I was super excited.
Right on. And so, one of the last questions I got for you:
Mm-hmm.
if you could pluck yourself into any movie,
Ooh.
any role,
Ooh,
what
good
would it be?
question. Any movie?
Any movie. You can replace actors if you want.
Oh.
You can be
gosh.
Steve Jobs in Danny Boyle's Jobs movie if you wanted to.
Oh, this is so good. So that's such a good question. Okay, so I have a two-part answer. If that's
All right.
okay. My absolute favorite movie in the world is Annie Hall,
Mm-hmm.
but like I couldn't replace Diane Keaton.
Right.
So I'm like, could I pluck myself into that movie with another role?
Oh
Like,
my, yeah,
or do
and
something
sky's the limit.
Okay. Oh yeah. So then I'll stick with Annie Hall. So I think I'd want to be like Diane Keaton's best friend
Okay.
in Annie Hall, and then because then I would be able to get to hang out with her too.
Yeah.
I love her. I think she's so funny and talented. So yeah, that would be my pick.
All right. Nice.
Yeah.
My go-to is
What's yours?
I just want to be at the end of the first Ghostbusters when they're walking out of the hotel. There's the crowd.
Yeah.
Just put me in the crowd.
Nice.
I'll just be in there. I'm good.
You're like I just want to be supportive. You're like I don't need the limelight.
Yeah, no, I
here's
just want to see. I just want the free lunch.
Nice.
Well, Shelly, for the people at home who'd like to keep up with what you do, where can they do that?
Well, I'm trying to become better at social media.
Mhm.
So they can follow me on Twitter at Shelly Bhalla. It's SHELLYBHALLA. And then on Instagram, I'm at Shelly from the Block.
Okay.
And yeah, that's where you can find me. Usually, posting things that are unimportant, but I'm trying to learn and catch up with all of this.
Gotcha. If you're looking to just get into it, food plays big.
Yeah.
Just post whatever you eat. Just post.
Yeah, and I do eat some good stuff. So I tend to post that on the Instagram stories. But yeah, I'm just like, I go through phases. There's times where I post a lot, and then there's other times where I'm like, no one cares about this. Keep it to yourself, girl. Like, so I go through phases. I'm trying to figure it out.
You'll get there.
Yeah.
Well, Shelly, I had a fun time chatting with you, and anytime you want to come back.
Thank you so much for having me.
Absolutely.
Thank you so much. It was a lot of fun.
Absolutely. So yeah, I'll let you go back doing more important things for your day and debate somebody. I don't know.
Well, thank you again for having me. That was a lot of fun.
Well, good. And like I said, you have a wonderful day. All right.
Great. You too.
All right. Bye-bye.
Bye.